Alright, so this video is just to show you how we're going to use this microscope to make calcium movies so that you can analyze the muscular activity of worms. So I'm going to start by giving you a brief background of the scope and the software that we're going to use and the light source. Those are the main things that you're going to be worrying about. This is a dissecting scope. The light switch is at the back here. Can you show that there? You can turn it on, and then there is a dial that makes it brighter or dimmer. There is a wheel here that you can rotate to choose different mirrors. The DF is for dark field, and the oblique is the one that we usually use to look at worms. It has an oblique thing here that if you press it, if the oblique setting is there, and you can see the mirror moving in angle, which reflects the light in different directions. And makes it easy to see the worms. So here's a plate with worms. They have muscular dystrophy. I'm just going to put them in there, and I'm going to go through here. Okay, see some worms in there. Now when you are working with these things with the microscope, you have it on. Now if you're going to do calcium imaging, you're going to need a light source. This cable here is a fiber optic. It's made out of glass, and you have to be super careful not to bend that because it's $1,000, and if you break it, it breaks that glass. So all of this, never put a alcohol lamp in here. Keep your alcohol lamp on this side, and then you turn the power on here. And once the power button is on, the microscope, this needs to be on for the rest of the day. So if you are the only person in the lab and you are leaving for the day, then you can turn it off. But if you know that there's going to be more people in the lab, particularly more people using it, you have to leave it on. Make sure that the people who come in know to turn it off before they go. The reason we do that is that the lamp inside loses 4 hours of life every time you switch it on. And so if you just turn it off after 10 minutes and somebody comes back and turns it on again, that's 4 hours, every time somebody switches it on and off. So we leave it on for the day. When you turn it on for the first time, it's going to take some minutes to warm up. These numbers are going to be blinking, and eventually they're going to go solid. There is a button here for the mode that tells you whether you are changing the coarse, the fine, and how many hours this lamp has on it. So I'm going to go to the coarse adjust, and then you see up and down. And when you press it down, you go in 10% decrements or increases. And when you press fine, you go in 1% amount. So usually we use 100% when we are filming this thing because we want the maximum amount of light to come out. Now, if the light comes out of the back, and it was going to go through this wire. And there is a dial here. I'm just going to turn it on. The shutter is what we use to turn the light on. And as you can see, now the light, I'm going to turn this down so you can see the light. So you can see if I decrease the light, it's going to get dimmer and dimmer. If I increase it, it's going to go up to 100%. Now this dial up here also changes the amount of light that goes through. When it's all the way away from you, it lets very little light through. When it's all the way towards you, that's the maximum amount of light. There is also a little cassette thing here that can have some filters in it. So you want to make sure, if you don't see anything, make sure that this is properly in there, okay? The other thing you got to look at is this diaphragm here. You can see here is closed, here is open. Always make sure it's all the way open to have the maximum amount of light as well. And the last thing is the filters, and this is the wheel, and you can see here it says the number 1 filter is for GFP, and you can see the number 1 up on the top here. And so when you move this wheel, you can move it to number 2, which is now for Texas red, and number 3 should be for cyan, although it doesn't look like it's there. Oh, actually it's number 4, so the cassette for cyan is in number 4. No big deal. So we're gonna move it to number 1 because that's where the green is. And so I'm gonna turn the shutter off. The light is still on, but it's not going through, so I'm not bleaching my animals. Now, to make a movie, I'm gonna go to the computer here, and I'm gonna look for a program called Fly. Point Grey Fly Cap right here, okay? So you click on that, that's gonna open the software that drives this camera. And there it is. Now, on top here, there is a puller that you have to move very gently because it moves a piece of glass inside the microscope. You can see there is some icons in there. When the puller is all the way in, all the light is going to the eyepieces and no light is going to the camera, which is why you don't see an image here. And when you pull it, now some light is going to the camera, which is why you see this thing here. I want you to notice that there is white rectangle here. That's the fluorescent light bulbs up above you. And so you don't want that light to enter the image. It's entering through the eyepieces right now. So you can, cover the eyepiece. And we got a piece of fabric here, which should not be on top of this thing because it gets hot. And you can, when you're filming, you can fix this around to if you want to minimize the amount of light from the outside environment that is entering into that into the plate. So here's the software. We can put the worms in here and turn the regular light on, and you can see them in there. I have them at 90, which is a maximum magnification. This is the zoom, this is the focus, this is the coarse focus, and this is the thin, the fine focus. The zoom allows you to change the magnification, and the focus, obviously, as the name implies, brings the animal into focus. Now, I always suggest you use the camera to focus, because if you use your eyes to focus, it's never going to be the same as the camera. So it's best to just use your eyes. So here's a plate with worms using transmitted light. That's the white light coming from the bottom there that I can dial out by dialing this thing down towards me all the way. Now, if I want to make a movie for calcium imaging, I had to go to my camera dialog here, standard video modes, and I had to choose the resolution and the frame rate. For calcium imaging, we are looking at fast processes, and so we do want fast video frame. We don't need color images because we are just recording one color. The worms glow green, and we're not trying to tell green from red from any other color. So there's no reason to have a color picture, which takes more room. But we do also want to have, within the black and white, we want the higher resolution. And then the question is, we want a big window or a small window. And I have them at 63 here. If I change this, you'll see that the window will change size. Okay. Let me repeat that. Okay. Let me change that. I can change. You see the window? See that worm in the middle? Now I see more space, and that's the most space. So that's also L4 worm here. I can see the pocket where the vulva is gonna be. So I will go with this one, 800 by 600 maybe, because I have very good handle on my hands. I can track a worm and follow it around. I'm not worried about the worm going away from my movie. But I do have to find myself a large worm if I can. An adult. Maybe I'll zoom out. There we go. So we are at 63 again. And you can see this worm here. It's not, it's not great, but it's gonna do. So now this is 30 hertz. Why 16 bits, 800 by 600. The higher the resolution, the higher the frame rate, the higher the bits, the bigger the picture. The more pixels, the more bits the picture is going to be, the slower the acquisition is going to be. So you might lose some information. It will take more room in the hard drive. So you want to go with the smallest thing. If I was looking at other things, like if I was measuring something like crawling velocity, I will definitely go down to 7.5. But I'm looking at calcium, and so I'm just gonna start with 30 and see what happens. So I picked these properties. Now I can close that window and go to this capture image. Here I can choose where I'm gonna save this file. I always want you to go to the desktop and create a folder on the desktop. Where these pictures will be saved. That's because it's the fastest thing for the computer is to save right into the hard drive. You don't want to plug in a USB drive and have those pictures have to buffer through that wire all the way. You lose frames that way. So save it to the desktop, and once you're done making your movie, cut that file and paste it in your hard drive that you can detach, or on the lab drive, which is what we store our information. But do that afterwards. Make sure you don't leave those files on the desktop, otherwise you're gonna clog the computer and it's gonna fill up. So now we're gonna say how long we're gonna capture for. Typically I film these things for 15 seconds. So that's 15 seconds is 15,000 milliseconds. 1, 2, 3. And the file format that we want is TIFF. It has no compression. And so we're ready to start recording, okay, at this point. So what I'm gonna do is, like, I have a worm there in my sights. I have the plate in my hand, so I can move the plate around. I would say I always film without the top of the plate, because if there is any fog on the lead, that's gonna alter the light going through. But just for now, just to show you, well, you know what, never mind. I'm gonna do it the right way. Take this off, so that we don't have as much disturbances. We're gonna have a better picture of our worm. Back to 63 here, magnification. And I keep my hand on this plate all the time, because I need to move the plate with the worm. Wherever that worm goes, I'm going, okay? Now, everything is ready. I'm ready to start recording, which is when I start pressing this button. I'm gonna zoom. So I have two hands. One is on the plate, one is in the zoom, right here, right? I'm gonna keep that in focus as much as possible. But now I'm gonna turn this light off here, and I'm gonna press the shutter. And we start recording. And you might not see the worm in there, but it's right there in the middle. It's not really moving anywhere. When it reaches the 15, okay, it already stopped, okay? So I'm gonna close this thing again. Turn the shutter off. And now those files are in this folder. So let's go. There should be a folder on the desktop called something like my name, which I butchered, but that's not a big deal. And all the files are here. So 15 seconds at 30 frames. It should be 450 frames, but we didn't get 450 frames. We got 373, so it dropped a lot of frames, okay? But still, you know that it took 15 seconds from beginning to end. So you can divide 373 divided by 15. That will tell you how much time goes between each frame, all right? So however many frames you have, that's how long it took the computer to go 15 seconds. And you can figure the times after that, okay? So we are gonna now go to Fiji. Hopefully it's here. Fiji. Okay, maybe I had to go to Windows, Program Files, Fiji app. There we go. Sometimes it won't find it, but you can go to the Program Files, 8x86 here, x86, and under there you'll see Fiji, and that's the app that we use to analyze this data. This is free software you can download in any computer you have, and it's great. You can pause it now. Okay?